So welcome to the final internship search strategy webinar. You've made it to number 8, correct? So today we have some goals. They are job descriptions. We'll go over job descriptions. We're going to look at the keywords, tailoring your resume towards those keywords. We're also going to look into your resume, what to include, and then we're going to have show and tell, because I'm sure that everyone has lots of updates to share with us. And you know from last seminar that I love story time and sharing all your experiences. So that's going to be the best part of this webinar. And we're going to try to go through the boring stuff so that we can hear about your experiences, and we'll have lots of time for that. So that's going to be a lot of fun. All right. So we're just going to jump right into it. So I took a couple job descriptions that I've either shared with you or you're going to see on Handshake, and I want to walk you through how to kind of read the job description effectively to see if it's a good fit for you, and then how to get some keywords into your resume and kind of sparse out what kind of language they like to use so you can make informed decisions in your cover letter. So here we have an opportunity that just came in this morning that I sent to you from the Office of Academic Services in the Bush School of Business. So you'll see it says, is seeking an energetic and organized graduate student to join our team for the academic scheduling coordinator. All great. So what I've done was I bolded in red some of the words that popped out to me if I was an applicant for this position. So you will work closely with Kevin Wrench, Assistant Director, who has a passion for bringing improvement and excellence to the school. Okay, right off the bat, Kevin Wrench probably wrote this job description, and you get a feel for his work style and kind of how he sees the importance of this position, right? Using the words like bringing improvement and excellence to the school, this person definitely holds a high regard for their position and is looking for someone who will have the respect for the office. In this position, you will be directly impacting the experience of the students and faculty by managing and delivering. Okay, managing and delivering. So those are adjectives. Mary Kate has been kind of getting on you about having adjectives in your resume. So here are 2 that are in the job description that you can pull out and put on your own personal resume. So as I'm reading through this job description, I'm probably going to write down managing and delivering and go, are there any cases where I've managed something or delivered some kind of service or something? Because if this is going into a job portal, you know, those bots are going to look for certain words. So if you have managing, delivering, and then on the next line, scheduling, that's perfect. You're already going to start, it's going to read that you have corollary experience. You're going to see the word life cycle. I wanted to talk to you about that. You're going to see a lot in recruiting and scheduling, and pretty much it's a buzzword in most industries for seeing it from start to finish. So you'll see full life cycle, you'll see recruiting lifestyle, you'll see scheduling life cycle, event life cycle. So it just means that from when it didn't exist until after the event or after the scheduling, and even post-analysis. So all of that is part of the life cycle. So if you have any experience in creating an event or seeing something totally through, so like my performing friends, you've seen the performance life cycle, right? Is from the page to final performance, and then the analysis of how did it go. Or if you did events, if you worked in student government, you probably had programs that you provided students, and the life cycle was, here's an idea of what we want to do. We analyze the budget. We bring all the parties that we need to make this event happen. And then afterwards, we send out the survey to the students saying, how did it go? And you analyze the event. So life cycle, you're going to see that a lot. So if you can talk about on your resume and your cover letter in the interview, you want to kind of think in that process whenever you see the word life cycle, especially in a job description. So that's a great way to even prepare for an interview. This is a perfect opportunity if you have a knack. Okay, so I highlighted have a knack because that's kind of interesting word choice, right? That's not traditional business wording. So maybe there's a fun element, or maybe in your cover letter, you kind of, you're reading this job description as clues as to what language you should use in your cover letter. So someone who is kind of using words like have a knack. Also, I have project with exclamation marks, so they're not afraid of using exclamation marks. So we talked about it in Mary Kate's webinar. So if someone has exclamation mark in theirs, then maybe you can use it judiciously and have one or two since they have it. Also processes. So if I'm looking through this job description, I'm saying, okay, do I like to schedule things? Do I like processes? This will kind of give you clues, and then if it is for you, then you would go and find those adjectives and put it into your resume. So also, this is a really great opportunity. So if any of you were interested in applying, I would say please go ahead and apply. It's a great position. So I'm also kind of promoting the opportunity because it's an easy commute. Also, it's on campus. So Kevin is a really great colleague, and he is someone that you would definitely learn a lot from, especially in Excel. He excels in Excel. So anyways, this is a great opportunity, and this is kind of how you would read through job descriptions to inform how you're going to write your cover letter as well as tailor your resume. I've talked to some of you about kind of tailoring your resume. All right, I've got another one. Switch Pitch is looking for an energetic and ambitious sales development intern. Okay, so energetic and ambitious, it's a little different than organized, and so this is a different type of role. You'll see sales development intern, so okay, this person is going to be talking a lot to people. If you look further, you'll see highly motivated. You'll see meticulous individual. That's an interesting word. So you'll see software as a service, you'll see meticulous. So this is kind of a dynamic person who is good at sales, but also not afraid of technology. Meticulous would probably be a word that I'd use for someone who is comfortable with different softwares and technologies. So support strategic and tactical communications and change management. So these people really like business-minded words, and it's kind of, they're proud of the business they do, and they're choosing these words purposefully. So you want to kind of use a different language for this opportunity, right? So you want to kind of think of business-minded words, and down here you'll see advanced metrics and key performance indicators, KPI. So these people are all about data and business models and change management and sales. So this is a very different position. And if you're applying, you want to kind of think about this. Say you wanted to apply to both jobs, the Catholic University one and this one. If you use the same cover letter, it's not going to read well probably for either. So that's kind of why we're talking about tailoring the cover letter specifically. So in this one, you want more business-minded words. In your resume, you want to have quantitative examples. So, whatever you were doing, how did you increase it? By what numbers? It sounds like these people really like numbers, and they really like initiative and, energetic, ambitious. So it's a different type of position, different type of culture probably at this company. So the job description, it shows you, one, what's it like to work there, but also what kind of language should I use to stand out and make it look like I did my pre-homework so that I can get, phone screening and then hopefully the internship. Any questions about all of this? I know I kind of jumped right into it. Cool.
What if you don't
Oh,
have like what if you don't have like how much traffic you brought into their website or something? Like how do you quantify something that you don't have numbers for, if that makes sense?
that does make sense. Did you, kind of going off that example, did you have experience working on their website?
Yes, like I wrote for their blog, but I don't know how
Mhm.
much traffic the articles brought in.
Okay. Good question. You can't lie and you can't just say, I increase their web by, 100%. You can check in with a former colleague or hiring manager and say, hey, I'm going into my master's program. I'm writing up my resume. Even if they could give a similar blog post that they were tracking engagement, they might be able to share, oh yeah, sure, this is a similar blog post and it increased or it got this much traction. um, yeah, great question. I think you can just also say, since you don't have the metrics, these people have strategic and tactical communications. You can not have the actual quantitative things, but you can say wrote strategic messaging for blog to increase web engagement. So that's where you're using their language. Maybe you don't have the actual quantitative numbers, but you're still matching their style, and you're saying that you're using an adjective that they use behind your bullet. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I know when you're interning, you don't always have um, the data behind the organization, but you can still use the adjectives, and you can make a general guess sometimes if you go on, like if you wrote even your own personal LinkedIn, if you wrote a post and it did much better than other posts, you can kind of play around with that. So you can get creative, and any experience that you have and that you did online, you can talk about, especially for these tech people. Um, if you built your own computer game, that's huge. Any experience is good experience, especially in tech. Shows you're not afraid of tech or social media platforms or anything like that. Even Megan, my fiance, has a colleague who has her own personal Instagram hold that has like 15,000 followers, and it's all just pictures of food throughout New York City, and it's almost like a side business, and she makes money off it. If by any chance you're like influencer or anything like that, you can also put that on your resume. Like all these experiences, don't be afraid to use them. And we'll talk about that a little later. I just went on a little bit of a tangent, but yeah, um, all experience is good experience. And here it's just trying to find a verb or adjective that they have and use that in your resume to match their style. The final one I had to break up into two. Oh, was there another question? Okay. The final one I had to break up into two slides because it was quite lengthy. So I'm going to do this. Um, so this is a development office opportunity. Sorry. Okay. So here, the adjectives are energetic, detail-oriented individual, donor prospecting and retention to provide general administrative support, writing, maintain database, records of donor contacts, research to identify potential, assisting in the logistics, helping, assist, assisting. Okay, so there's a theme here. You're not going to be doing the work, but you're going to be learning from really smart people and supporting them. So in this case, you want to have adjectives like helped, assisted, support. In your cover letter, you can kind of have the final pitch that with my skills and experience, I look forward to supporting you and your team and your efforts to broader understand the needs of your clients and this type of wording. This job description is very formal. So very formal cover letter, no exclamation marks probably in this one. This is more of a traditional internship, I would assume, compared to the other ones. This is one where you go into the office and they say, okay, Dan, here are your 5 things for the week, and your manager will be checking in with you on Fridays, this type of thing. Or they'll say, here is a stack of letters that need to go out. If you can go out and print them and then mail them, this is the type of position it will be. But that being said, this position, there's a lot of access for institutional knowledge. So public international affairs. So if you're interested in that subject matter, what the sell is for this internship is that you're going to be around really smart people in this subject matter, and you're going to support them, and you're going to learn from being in the office and listening to them, or kind of drafting up and editing some of their documents. So you're going to learn on the job. It's kind of the sale they're having in this job description. So if I was applying for this, my cover letter would be all about how passionate I am about international affairs and how I'm eager to learn more. And through supporting you and your efforts and development for the organization, I look forward to gaining institutional knowledge. I look forward to, even if I was going into the interview round, talking about what recommended readings do you have for me so I can learn more about international affairs. This seems like they're looking for someone who's hungry to learn and kind of put the work in. And that's kind of why there's a lot of, assisting, helping, and that kind of thing, editing. All right, so knowledge, education, and experience. So this is very traditional, and they have must-haves. If you don't have them, I would say don't apply. So you must at least be a college junior, graduate student, or recent graduate. That is all of you. Must have at least a 3.4 or 3.0 GPA on a 4.0 scale. Some HR departments are very stringent on this, and there's no room for negotiation. If you have like a 2.98, you can probably round up to a 3.0, but it gets tricky in this situation. I would say you probably want to meet that criteria. Excellent. So, but then when you get a little further down, excellent research, writing, editing, and proofreading skills. The word excellent can seem, some people might question, oh, well, I'm a good writer, but am I an excellent writer? And if you never had, the professor with the red mark all over your papers with, you need a comma here, you need spacing here, there's all these issues, this is spelt wrong, then you're probably a good writer. If you made it through college without ever getting a lot of comments on your writing, I would say you're a good writer. Ability to work independently and collaboratively in a fast-paced environment. What does that mean? To me, that is a bit of word salad. That's saying, can you work on your own? Can you work with everyone in a fast-paced environment? That's where you go into your cover letter and you kind of say, that's where you just put in buzzwords, right? I'm a team player who likes to support people, right? It's kind of like you're a team member, but you can also support on your own. And fast-paced environment, everyone's idea of fast-paced is different. So you can throw in, I thrive in a fast-paced environment, or I'm excited to join a fast-paced environment. You'll see that line in almost every job description. But if they have it in there, they made a point, they probably think very highly of the role, and so throw it in the cover letter. Keen attention to detail and highly organized. This is important to make a note of because when you go through the interview process, talk about how you are highly organized. Are you a list maker, or do you utilize lots of technologies like Slack or anything like that? Do you have an elephant brain and you kind of organize everything in certain ways, and you're the person that people on your team always say, hey, who was that person we talked to 3 days ago and they were talking about something, and for some reason you can pull that up. So that bullet is important if you're going through the interview process to explain how you are highly organized, because some people might assume that they think you're highly organized because you got through the interview, but pitch yourself and explain your process, because people like to hear like how you work, and you can kind of describe how you stay organized, how you stay on efficient at work. Okay, I've talked to a couple of you about Microsoft Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint. I would say, me personally, if you have, you would put Microsoft Office on your resume or not. I wouldn't just put Word and PowerPoint or Outlook and Excel. Just say Microsoft Office. I'm sure most of you are comfortable, and you're going to get more comfortable throughout this program with Excel, which is probably the trickiest. we are all of the technology age. We can Google and we can do YouTube videos and figure it out if we needed to before an interview. Um, and I would just put Microsoft Office and high level. I would assume they might ask you about pivot tables in Excel. That's probably like the high level that they need. So even understanding what is a pivot table, you're going to learn it in the program. But just you can even say, I'm actively learning this in class and I'm doing a lot of exercises, and we have a really great professor who's teaching us. And I really enjoy the work in Excel. I'm a bit of a data geek or something. You can kind of pitch it that way. Strong interpersonal skills with a positive can-do attitude. Also, positive can-do attitude. You are all actively going to get your master's. You have this positive can-do attitude. You are coming to learn. So that one you can just kind of ignore. Strong interpersonal skills. This is a clue that they're looking for someone who can talk to lots of different people. It's not so much can you talk to like-minded people, but can you talk to people of many different generations, of diversities? Are you comfortable just kind of going out and pitching someone anything and kind of rolling with the punches? And can you present yourself well? If they said, hey, we need to give this presentation, are you going to have sweaty hands, or are you just going to be comfortable and present well? So interpersonal skills, you're going to see it a lot, and that's a differentiator. If you're quite shy or you don't really like to work with people, which is totally okay, the position's probably not for you. This just means that you're going to be interacting with lots of different people in the office, and you might be representing the company at different times. So they want to make sure that you present well. All right, are there any questions about job descriptions and how to kind of take these tidbits and put them in your resume and cover letter? What I've done with this highlighting is kind of something even I do personally is, extracting the details that would help me be successful in applying and then interviewing. So this is a bit of background research work that will make you stand out and then make you perform better in the interview. No questions? I assume everyone's comfortable. Have any of you been doing this already? More or less with the adjectives and everything like Mary Kate coached you on?
Yeah, so I was doing this stuff with like the cover letter, but I didn't realize that like switching my resume into like their adjectives and stuff would be helpful. So I appreciate that. I haven't been doing the resume, but I've been doing the cover letter switch.
Yeah, it's a little bit of extra work, but especially in today's market, it's important to kind of go that extra mile to make sure that they have no reason to not review it. And so this will help you kind of get through the computers when they're pulling out information. Especially when they're not asking for a cover letter, you want to make sure that all your bullets kind of go in line with their job description. And kind of what you can do is you can have your resume that has all the bullets that don't always, it's just every work experience you have, and then you kind of create another resume and kind of copy and paste with the specific bullets that are tailored to the position. So you're not rewriting a resume every time you apply, but you probably have like an events resume, but then you also have maybe a development resume if you're kind of in that space. That's kind of the thought process. So it is a lot of work, but it's not where you're just creating a new resume for every job description. Cool.
Got you. Thank you.
Of course. So resume, what should I include? Okay, we have waiters and bartenders, golf caddies, freelancers. So all experience is good experience. If you've never held a traditional internship, that is okay. Because when we looked at the job description, there was something like interpersonal skills. So caddying and bartending is definitely interpersonal skills. Being organized, you can pitch how you're organized when you're a waiter. Are you managing 10 different tables a night? Are you you're working across the bartenders and the busboys? So there is a lot of life experience that you can draw upon on your resume if you don't have quote unquote traditional experience. Golf caddy, especially if you're going into certain industries where there tend to be a lot of golfers, like say sales, that will make you stand out. People will say, wow, they have skills in something I'm very passionate about. And their whole interview may end up just be talking about golf. So you kind of want to, you don't want to just put in, you don't want to just put it there, say, I was a golf caddy. You want to say, I caddied at blank, blank country club and I managed how many guests or members per year. And did you do any extra things? Like, did you take an initiative to clean up the caddy shack, or were you part of the scheduling team? And how many people were you scheduling? Did you take a leadership role in the member guest one year? So all these kind of things. Really analyze what you did and be proud of the work you've done and start to promote it. And then freelancing. A lot of you that I've learned have freelance experience that isn't on your resume that could be on your resume. So do you have a side hustle? Do you have video editing skills? Do you have light engineering skills? All these different things can be put on the resume. Some of these are technical skills, which even if you're not applying for, like, say, a video editing job, it shows that you're not afraid of computers. You understand different platforms. You can learn technology well. These are all, you just want to give a lot of hints to the recruiter that you are a really great candidate. You are very teachable. You're eager to learn, all these things. So I would say put more on your resume, and then Mary Kate and I can say, hey, too much, take it down a notch. But all experience, in my opinion, and I know Mary Kate thinks the same way, is good experience. I personally, before coming to Catholic, was teaching private voice and piano, but I was also helping the music studio do scheduling. I was helping them do marketing. So I learned that I can kind of pitch that, and it is transferable skills. So do not be afraid to put a bartending job, a waiting job, a caddying job, a freelance video photography job. All of it counts, all of it is good, and all of it will help you get an internship and eventually a job. And maybe you'll grow it into a side hustle that will help you pay your rent when you finish the MSB program. Cool. Any questions about that? I'm kind of harping on the resume stuff, but I think right now the resume is the most important thing. You never want to give a recruiter a reason to not interview you. You want to have all your ducks in line. You want to show that you did the work. You want to show that you have the experience, that you can nail the interview and get the position. So for the resume, professional experience, internships, yes, if you had a really impressive internship, put it up there, put it in bold, play it up. That will help you get through things. So if you interned with a very large corporation, definitely put that on there. Part-time jobs, like I mentioned, any summer jobs that you've had, it shows that you don't just sit around because you didn't get an internship. It shows that you make money and you are a go-getter, which is and you have the can-do attitude, which you'll see in a lot of those job descriptions. So people like that. People know that you don't have 5 years experience. So that's great. I just thought of this, but you might see on internships that it says 1 year experience, which will seem weird because you're saying I haven't worked at all. If you add up your jobs and internships that you've had throughout college, it probably equals 1 to 2 years. So I would say go ahead and apply. Don't think that you haven't had work experience, because if you've held 2 internships, that's a year experience. If you had a part-time job every summer, that's a year experience. So that's something important to know. Don't count yourself out right away when you read certain bullet points. Say, hey, do I have this, but maybe in a non-traditional way, and that's okay. So that's something to think about. And then gig work. Like I said, if you are an Instagram influencer, put it on there. If you're video editing, put it on there. All of it is really great. And if anything, like myself, opera singing, it's a really great talking point. When I'm on the phone interview or something, you can kind of talk to them about your past experience, and then you tell a story about yourself and why you're intentionally applying for the job. And people will remember you more than if you just say, I held these two traditional internships and now I'm going to take this job. You want to be personable, you want to stand out. So all those things are great. And for all of you, I know that you all have really interesting backgrounds in your undergraduate degrees. We talked about elevator pitches. Cover letter is kind of an elevator pitch. So you want to always tell your story. You want to show that you're unique but hardworking, and you also have the traditional skills. For me personally, that's why I love the program, because I think it takes everyone's interests and passions and then gives you the traditional skills so that you can be successful. It's not so much just the traditional route the whole way around. Everyone has their own unique touch on the program, which I think is really exciting. And you'll learn that from each other in orientation. And then you'll have strong interpersonal skills because you can talk about lots of different things because you guys are very diverse in your experiences. Okay, volunteer work and academic projects. I talked to a couple of you about this. If you don't have volunteer work for leadership, if you don't have volunteer leadership experience, it's okay. Just don't put it on there. Don't feel like you have to find it and dig too deep. If it doesn't come to mind and it's not anything you're comfortable talking about in an interview, because it will come up, don't put it on your resume. Same with academic projects. So kind of, you just want to have a full page, and Mary Kay gave this template for you to kind of work with and see how can I fill this page? So if the biggest section, if you have just all professional experience, you've held like 3 internships and you were a hustler and you also had a summer job, then put that all in there. If you were the president of your undergraduate and you were the president of your fraternity or sorority and you were something else, then maybe your volunteer and leadership is larger than professional experience. So this is all malleable, and it's definitely adjusted to you, because you never want to put something on your resume that you are not comfortable talking about on an interview, because that's not great. All right, and then skills. Skills pay the bills. Anything that you have that is an important skill, social media, video editing, even if it's not related to the job description or what you're going to do, I think skills is a different beast, and you can put a lot of different things in skills because it shows that you took the time to learn something and become an expert in something. So if you are fluent in French and you're never going to use it in your professional career, I would still put fluent in French. If you built a computer game, but you want to do nonprofit fundraising, I would still put, that you built this certain kind of platform, because it just shows that you took the time to learn something, you're comfortable with it. And you never know, they may say, actually, we actually need this fundraiser who can build this program. It would be kind of a long shot, but you just never know. And so in that case, let the recruiter just see your skills and see that you invest in yourself. So skills, I'd put a lot of, every skill you have, I would definitely put it on there. Okay, so your turn. I know I've gotten a lot of updates from a lot of you. Some of it's about looking at your resume. Some of it's about interviews coming up, all different things. So how about some volunteers to share where they are in the search? Maybe talk about your next steps, because this is our final webinar. Maybe say, this is where I'm at. My next steps are tailoring my bullet points. I feel comfortable in my cover letters, or maybe it's I've got a couple phone interviews and this is kind of what I'm thinking about in my pitch to talk about. So I'd like to hear from some of you. You can say, I don't think any of you have no updates, because I hope all of you are working on something, whether it's your LinkedIn, your resume, your cover letter, searching for opportunities, interviewing, or you're starting a position. Bill, do you want to call on someone to?
Absolutely. We'll pick Chris Gleason this time. Let's see. Mark Ahern, what's going on?
How's it going, everybody? I am just cranking it on LinkedIn. I grew my profile by like 75 people in the past few weeks. I've had an extremely busy past 2 weeks. I drove across the country from Denver, and then got engaged last week. So there was a lot of pre-planning to that. So as of this week, I have pretty much finished up resume stuff, and I have a list of all of the jobs that I am applying to hopefully have in before orientation starts.
Great. And I know we're talking tomorrow about your resume.
Yep, exactly right. I think Mary Kate and I talked earlier in the summer, and then she's out of the office. So
awesome.
And you and I haven't talked yet either, so it'll be good to talk.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious about you growing your LinkedIn network. So if you want to kind of talk to the class about what kind of opportunity or what kind of people are you connecting with? Is it people from your undergraduate? Is it people in industries you're interested in? I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah, I think, at first, I'm almost done with the LinkedIn premium thing, that free month. So at first I was just kind of ripping through like all of the suggestions of like college friends and stuff like that, or people that I knew from undergrad. And then after that, I went kind of back to like my brother's friends that are now in professional careers that are interesting to me. And then kind of as you've started to send jobs and I am going through jobs and making the list, I've been going through and trying to connect with people and send messages with people to those jobs that I'm looking into. So that one that you sent today, that real estate thing, I connected with that guy today. I forget his name. So just kind of depending on the jobs that I am looking at now, then trying to connect and send a message to those people.
Awesome, that's good work. And when you're starting to build it, it feels slow because you're just outreach, but it'll start to come in, and you'll get a couple messages, and then you start to create call to actions or phone calls or anything. So that's really great. Have you tried to connect with anyone who's maybe senior level?
Yeah, I connected a few weeks ago with a guy that he's a mutual connection with Jack Traxler, who's a good friend of mine Jack doesn't work at Morgan Stanley anymore, but he works at Morgan Stanley. He's one of their senior wealth advisors there. I sent him a message, but he did not reply, but we connected.
Awesome. Wealth management is a very big business in DC. So we'll talk about it tomorrow, but there's a lot of other contacts that we can kind of try to make introductions with. Cool, thanks for sharing. Who else?
Mr. Noon, I had a question. I noticed that on the second to last slide on the resume thing, you put under skills Prezi. Is Prezi a skill?
That might have been a error, but Prezi is a skill. Oh, on the actual yes, Prezi is a skill.
Okay.
One that I've not been able to master. Good skill.
There are certain skills that our generation or even a generation below will not think are skills because it's so second nature to them. But there are going to be people in organizations who are older than you, who are not as comfortable with technology, who may need assistance with some of these skills that are so second nature to you. So yes, Prezi, even MailChimp, anything like this that you've used, those are all skills. It just says I'm comfortable with this platform.
Tableau, Google Analytics, those are all really good things to have on your resume.
Okay, thank you. Both of you, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have an interview coming up that they wanted to talk about how they prep for it? Or a maybe an informational phone call with a connection?
Happy to call someone out for any updates. I don't want to have to do that though.
I don't have anything set up yet, but I was trying to talk to Madeline Cudahy. I don't know if you know her, but she also went to the Rome School for musical theater, and now she is a reporter in like South Carolina. And I basically said when I connected with her, I was like, I am interested in your industry and I'd like to hear about your story and your career. And I'm interested in marketing positions. And she basically was like, I would love to talk with you, but I don't have much experience with marketing. She just said that she has experience with that industry, like the media industry. So, and then that just kind of fizzled out. I asked if she could talk today and she didn't answer. So.
You say, Chris, she had experience in the media industry?
Yeah, well, she's a reporter at a news, at some sort of channel in South Carolina. And I think she has experience in the past in like social media. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like maybe I could have been clearer in my message to her or something. So
yeah, sometimes we've kind of touched on this in one of the other webinars. When you do the outreach, people are very literal. So maybe that's a case where they said, I have experience in this, and they don't even remember that they put social media as a skill or experience. So it's either one, it's a polite way of her saying, I'm very busy and I just don't have time to connect, or she feels like she doesn't have anything to offer because you were looking for marketing. So you could go back and say, you know, I'm also very interested in broadcasting and just hearing about how you transition from musical theater to the professional world. So you can go back and make it very personal and say, as a fellow alumni, I'd like to hear your story of how you transitioned out of performing. But in the future, you know, when you do the outreach, you can say, I'm really impressed with your background, and you don't have to be so precise. Okay. And then when you're on the phone, you can say, oh, I noticed that you have this experience. And they'd be like, oh, really? I didn't even notice I still had that on there, or something like that. But yeah, it's the Wild West out there when it comes to LinkedIn and outreach. So that's definitely an experience. So thanks for sharing, because people are going to come across that experience where it feels awkward, or you feel, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said this or I shouldn't have said that. But everyone just is everyone has their own time and priorities, and maybe she just didn't have time to connect. And it was her nicest way of saying that.
Yeah. Okay.
You can also check back in like a month or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say it's a good habit to get into, to keep track of everyone you are reaching out to and who's responded. So even if you create a big spreadsheet of the people with like dates next to when you reached out to them and notes about what was said, because this is something that will go very far in life. You know, remembering life moments like Mark, who just got engaged, right? So in 6 months, you go back and say, how's the wedding planning going? I'm finishing up my first semester. So it's never just about you. It's after that initial phone conversation, you always want to have something that you remembered about them, and you're checking in on them, but then also giving your own update.
Okay, right.
Yeah, we haven't heard from Sydney in a while. Sydney, what's going on?
Hi, good. Yeah, some updates. I've been trying to kind of just get my resumes and cover letters like up to standards and stuff. And in addition to that, kind of just reaching out with people that I did undergrad with, or maybe like a year or two older than me, that I had classes with, and now are kind of like starting to get more comfortable in their jobs, and just wondering like if their jobs have any internship opportunities. Certain people have like helped me in the past with that in undergrad, so like those type of people that I know kind of like are looking out for me, I feel like I'm reaching out to. And then as well, like I'm from the area, so I know some of like my parents' friends and things like that, seeing if they, or if they just know someone that could have an opportunity for me, just kind of trying to reach out to people I already know.
That's awesome. And I really like that strategy of reaching out to people from your undergrad who are 1 or 2 years ahead of you. You know, maybe they're getting comfortable and they're going to be excited about bringing in like a first person or a first new hire to say, look at this other really great person from my undergrad. And there's a sense of pride there. So every so often you'll find someone from your undergrad who can be a cheerleader for you and help you through the whole process. Sometimes it's also good to reach out to them and say, hey, I found this internship. Could you go into the internal database and see who the hiring manager is? And then you can do all the work for them and even say, I've written this blurb about how you know me. I've attached the job description. I've attached my resume. So the person in the position can just copy and paste everything and send it to the hiring manager. It just shows that you're really excited and you're willing to do the work and not just ask for an opportunity.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you've done any sports or you were in any clubs, you can even go further, like 4 or 5 years out, because you kind of are part of an affinity group in that case.
Yeah, definitely. Thank
But
you.
good work, of course.
Yeah, and it looks like Victoria has her hand up. Victoria, was that from before, or do you have a question?
Oh no, that was off of Sydney's question about like reaching out to people that you know. So like I know like some people at the Capitol and stuff. I was wondering if like interning at the Capitol, like for a representative or whatever, if that would count as an internship or no, because it's not like super duper businessy.
Definitely counts as an internship. We have had students intern on the Hill in the past. And the interesting thing about interning on the Hill is that it may not be called, they have different names for things, like say they have schedulers in the office, but that is an executive assistant. So all the job functions on the Hill are transferable, and having some experience on the Hill is a really great talking point on your resume as well. So in the future, when you're interviewing and you figure out what you want to do, you can say, I've experienced working with Senator so-and-so, and they were passionate about finance or something like that, and you want to go into finance. So Hill experience is good. It's one of the perks of being in DC. So you'll be giving a lot of tours, although with COVID, I don't know if you would be. But I think it's a great experience. And Bill, you can probably speak to it as well. I know a lot of people who are alumni of the Hill, even being staffers for several years, and some of them go into very impressive business careers.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you learn even from the general internships on the Hill is how to work with an unhappy customer base. Because you get a lot of calls in that are coming in that no one calling in the Capitol is that happy. So it's a lot of customer management, customer relations, and kind of how to soothe some of those tensions. And I think that's, in any kind of business, that's going to be a really useful skill to have.
Yeah, so going back to the job. Oh.
Yeah, it's also very useful to understand how government works. I wish we could put every one of those folks 2 miles south of us through this program so they could understand how business works. But clearly some do and some don't. So it's a great internship if you want that experience.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Sure, Victoria.